truth.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're having a good day, and hope it continues to be a good day. Apologize for not being on lately and doing anything. I've been busy cleaning up the yard, getting ready for the cold season and everything. That takes up a lot of time. Also, I'm working on a couple other projects, or actually several other projects. Right now, I'm working on a book, and I'm not going to give too much about it. It's a kind of a science fiction novel, I guess you will. And also perhaps a screenplay for the book, and perhaps not. I'm not sure yet how that's going to work, but I am working on these things kind of on and off as I can. I just finished a publication today that I will probably have out for print, or at least publication, to be put out for a reading for too long. I'm also working on a website for my own personal use and everything like that for what I do. Might have some items for sale or links and stuff like that, maybe even a podcast. Really wanting to try to boost things up and get a little bit more out there and everything like that, especially since the cold season's coming on. And I really need something to do besides sitting around watching Star Trek reruns. All right, that's the truth. So anyway, current events. Gosh mighty guys, there's a lot of things going on and everything like that. But one of the things I want to focus on is what might be, and that's one of the things I always do, is kind of talk about what probably looks like what's going to happen. And one of the things I've noticed, and hopefully you've noticed too, is the pro-Israel, the really strong pro-Israel stance inside of the United States from our government recently. In fact, we have several political figures that has dual status with the United States and Israel, dual citizenship status. That's kind of weird. But let's give it a rundown here like that. But everything we've seen, now hopefully people use this with an open mind, that Trump really is pro-Israeli. With the things that's been going on, the aid, Alfred and everything, and rulings going on. One of the things I did notice that's really strong and really goes against my things that seem right is the really strong reaction against pro-Israel, pro-Jewish, anti-Jewish or anti-Israel speech, hate speech as they call it. In fact, they've gone as far as to announce that Israelis are a different race. They're not like the rest of humans, most of the other people, everybody else, but they're a different race. And I didn't know a country could be called a race. But anyway, that's really kind of strong language coming out of the White House, guys. And it's really evident that we do a lot of that. And the thing is, guys, I noticed the other day, a while back, maybe 3 weeks ago, when Netanyahu visited the White House, he met Trump at the door of the West Wing, I think it is, maybe the East Wing. I don't know which wing is which, but anyway, he met them there and walked him in. Every time Trump has a visiting dignitary from another country, he flies, has their flag standing by at the doorway. You can review all the videos you can think of and everything. You'll see that every country, when they come to visit Trump, their colors have flown at the doorway, even Zelensky, okay? Except one country, and that's Israel. Kind of odd that's the way it was. Now, of course, in front of the cameras and everything on the stage, when they do the talks, the Israeli flag is up there, but when they meet at the doorway, when the foreign dignitary is meeting, usually that country's flag is flown at the doorway, entryway into the White House where they're meeting. It was not done with Netanyahu or Israel. In fact, if you go back and look at it, a lot of them does not have the Israeli flag flown there. Now, we know that all the other countries do. Israel does not. Why is this? Well, Israel is a state, is what it's called. It's called the State of Israel. A lot of the other countries are called the State of, but Israel is importantly, most definitely called a state. Now, a state is dependent on a country, a sovereign country, to support it. And we know that we send billions of dollars of aid to Israel. In fact, we support them completely, pretty much all on its own. Even the industry that Israel has comes because of the United States interactions with them. They depend on the United States. Now, what other places depend on the government of the United States for their support, for their well-being? Pretty much all 50 states, plus several territories that we have. We have 7 territories. All these 57 places, 50 states, and 7 territories depend largely on the United States for support. Israel depends largely on support from the U.S. government. So therefore, by all accounts and everything, I even looked this up, guys, had AI look through this stuff and everything like that. As far as monetary support, Israel does not really rank up there with other states like New York, California, and quite a few other large states. But all these other states, at the 50 continental states or 50 states of the United States, does pay back into the support of the United States. But Israel provides 0% support back to the government of the United States. They receive billions, ranking up there around the number 10th place, I think, maybe, in support from the U.S. government, but they provide nothing back to the U.S. except for strategic actions in the Middle East. And that's it. And that's what it's called, guys. So we see a kind of an imbalance here. And that's one of the things I'm really strong on, is being about fair, being balanced and just. And this is not right. Therefore, if Israel is a state, and it is now apparent that it is a state of the United States of America, therefore they need to start paying their fair share in taxes and support to our government. It seems logical, doesn't it? It does to me. So, guys, that's kind of big right there. One of the things I noticed here strong out, that Israel is dependent upon the U.S. support for their livelihood, all things just about, and they provide 0 support back, or 0 funding or taxes or anything else back to the United States like all the other states and territories do. Something to think about, guys. What's going on with this? Why is this so? Well, it's because we belong to Israel. If you notice all the actions going on, the other countries in the world are standing up and pointing their fingers at Israel over the last actions over the past 2 years, in fact over the past 20 years, in fact. They're really starting to see a pattern of what Israel's about. Of course, they're going to point their fingers. And then again, we always hear this about the poor Israelis, the poor Jewish nation, everything, how they're vilified and everything like that. Well, it's kind of apparent why, in my opinion. You look at the actions that they carry on across the Middle East, influencing governments inside the United States and around the Middle East and around the world, guys. So these people, in a way, deserve to be vilified, in my opinion. But, you know, I'm not in charge or anything, and I just have an opinion about how things are. One of the things about this, guys, is with the rest of the world standing up, pointing their fingers, and in fact, standing up in arms almost against Israel, the NATO is starting to move in and doing things like that. The NATO troops have moved into the region. So we're seeing that the other countries kind of stand up against Israel. And from the Bible scripture and anything like that, that Israel will be held up and destroyed and then reformed, or whatever the prophecy is. But Israel will go through a calamity time. Netanyahu called all Jews to come back to Israel from around the world. It was a calling home of all, getting ready for the great destruction. Something's going to happen. Israel is going to be, attacked, I do believe, destroyed, I do believe, and guess where the refugees are going to go? All the other nations in the world don't want them. There's several countries that won't allow them in their country, believe it or not. There's several countries, a large number of countries that will not allow Israelis in their country. There's a reason why. So, but the only place that really is pro-Israeli, pro-Jew is the United States. And that's kind of a point that's coming to this and everything, guys. Like, with the destruction of Israel, the only place they would have left to go is here, like they did in Germany back in World War II, before World War II, World War I. So that's why we're seeing laws and other things passed that's pro-Israeli, pro-Jew, is because after they are attacked and their temples and synagogues and everything like that, their homes and their capital is destroyed, they'll come here. What do you think? There's a lot of 15-minute cities being built. It isn't for us, guys. It's for people that will be moving here soon. Here where we live, near Pittsburgh, we've noticed that they have been moving small mom and pop businesses out from downtown. They're taking a lot of the older buildings where these mom and pop stores and these reduced income apartments are, or they're closing them down, calling them fire hazards, and rebuilding them, making them into luxury loft apartments. Everything in downtown Pittsburgh, after they're done with, will be within a 15 minutes, but they're not calling it a 15-minute city because that will cause the alarms to go off. But from what I'm seeing, they will be producing or making a 15-minute city. And there'll be no vehicles allowed downtown except public transportation or bicycles. And that's another thing they're doing. They're increasing bike paths and bus-only transportation paths inside the downtown area. Look around. Any of your cities around you, larger cities around you, doing the same thing without saying that they're doing it? Well, it's apparent. Anyway, we're becoming a new home of Israel, the state of Israel, the United States of Israel. Hope you'll have a groovy day. Later, taters.
Attention passengers, we've now reached our destination. We hope you enjoyed the flight and have a nice day.